My parents got a little surprised with me. My mom didn't find out that she was carrying a little girl until she was 8 months pregnant. I was their 1 in 40,000, a result of an autosomal dominant gene abnormality, commonly characterized by a torso of normal size and disproportionately short arms and legs. Achondroplasia is just one of more than 200 different types of dwarfism.
Kristen DeAndre has a unique condition that makes her stand out in the crowd.
As a kid, I didn't ever see myself as living with a disability or being different. And so going into first grade, specifically, I had my first incident with bullying.
Me and Liz can both reach that, but Kristen can't reach this one.
It was really hard for me to process because I didn't quite understand. To me, I was just smaller than some of these other kids. And that obviously opened the door to how the rest of society actually viewed me.
As a child, Kristen required assistance with most tasks, like using public bathrooms. Her parents accommodated her at home, but at school, where there were no accommodations, she struggled with her legs falling asleep when sitting in classroom chairs. These are some of the many challenges people like Kristen face on an everyday basis.
So I made a radical decision to change how I was going to interact with the world.
Allie O'Neill was born with achondroplasia, the most common form of dwarfism. For her and many people with the same condition, one step equals 2 steps for an average-sized person.
I would say the most challenging parts or anything throughout my life would probably be, when you're younger, fitting in, because you always want to be able to do whatever your friend's doing or whatever somebody else is doing, and you want to be just like them. Growing up with parents who both have the same dwarfism as I do I kind of felt like they made me a little bit more independent because they knew I could do it. I obviously, with my height, I'm not as tall as my peers, but still trying to figure out ways to do things that they're doing, but just in an accommodating way or just in a different way. But our arms are shorter and our legs are shorter, so it makes it harder to reach things.
While Allie's home caters to her needs, the outside world often falls short in accommodating people with dwarfism. When they venture into public spaces, they often need to ask for help.
So when I go shopping at a grocery store, the assistance that I might need is reaching things off the top shelf. So either I'll ask somebody who's on the aisle, and then I might try to grab it myself. I would say, yeah, I have a little anxiety about asking people for help, not because I'm afraid they'll say no, but more because that I'm afraid of bothering them.
Dwarfism is a genetic condition characterized by having shorter skeletal growth in the arms, legs, and torso. Due to this condition, little people such as Allie and Kristen lack access in their everyday lives.
Welcome to Fridays with Feldman. Today, in preparation for Dwarfism Awareness Month.
Dr. David Feldman is a pediatric orthopedic surgeon who specializes in treating individuals with dwarfism or any skeletal dysplasia.
What impacts short stature individuals medically is different than what may impact them socially. So medically, because the dwarfing syndromes and the skeletal dysplasias are varied, each one has a variety of problems. So take achondroplasia. When they're young, they may need tubes in their ears. They may need their tonsils out. They may need to have a brain decompression to prevent sleep apnea.
Nearly 400 different types of dwarfism affect over 65,000 people in the United States. These various forms of dwarfism are linked to more than 300 different genetic conditions.
And so for me, being a spine surgeon, I think opening up that spinal stenosis, treating the spinal stenosis, in which probably 85% of people who have achondroplasia have, then that allows them to live more fruitful lives.
While medical procedures are typically needed for most individuals with dwarfism, Glendina Moyth never had to undergo such treatments.
So when I go out in public, 99% of the time people stare at me, which is so annoying, but it's whatever. It's like being a little person, you're already a celebrity without the fame.
People such as Wildine not only struggle with the lack of access in society, but also within the education system.
So I went to Baylor University from August 2022 through December 2022. It was kind of difficult to go to my classes when it would rain. The way they built their campus, it floods a lot and it's not covered. It rains really bad in Miami and it's not fun getting wet and you get sick easily.
This is one of the many issues people with dwarfism encounter on a daily basis. Sometimes they must rely on the workers at the disability resource centers on their school campuses. Martha Wong from Florida International University is one of those workers striving to make a difference.
We have a vast majority of accommodations at the DRC. So we've done such things like accessibility walks across MMC and BBC campus. Our classroom management and facilities also review all the classrooms before the semester starts to make sure that there's an adequate amount of ADA accessible, height adjustable desks in every classroom. And then Parking Transportation also does their reviews, their internal reviews around the parking around campuses, just to ensure that there's enough wheelchair accessible and ADA accessible parking spots.
Section 504 of the Rehabilitation Act mandates that all public or private schools receiving federal funding must ensure access to their programs for students with disabilities. Connor Trang, an architecture student at Florida International University, agrees that there is more room for improvement for FIU and other institutions alike.
A big goal of mine is to create more accessible spaces for those with disabilities or different demographics for all to really enjoy, especially with the buttons that can be used for any. However, sometimes I just press them just to check them, and a lot of them don't even work. I find FIU tries their best to be much more inclusive than a majority of schools across not only the country, but in the world. No one deserves to feel like an outcast here at FIU, nor in the world.
I mean, there's definitely a lot of work that FIU in general has done to make sure that we are inclusive and welcoming to all types of disabilities, including students with low stature. There's still work in progress.
According to the American Disability Act of 1990, it eliminates discrimination against people with disabilities by ensuring the creation of universally accessible buildings. Asghar Fatih and other architects are actively working to create a more inclusive environment.
It's our educational centers, so they definitely should think about every part of that project to be accessible. Yes, I understand different people have different needs in every building, but that should not stop the architect from designing accessible areas for everyone.
Fatih has been in the architecture business for over 40 years. He's worked on hotels, residentials, and institutions.
For instance, we could take kids into consideration. So it could be adjustable, different size of furniture, different areas, so everyone can enjoy the same space. And I think that would be a winner, and it's not a difficult task to do. The successful project, in my opinion, is when every person can access the space you're creating for people to use and enjoy. If someone cannot get to that space, so that is a total discrimination against those people. So I'm hoping that every architect, or maybe young coming architect, would think about accessibility for everyone, so every person could enjoy their spaces that they're planning to create.
That's why it's crucial for architects, especially aspiring ones, to prioritize accessibility in their designs. If more architects incorporated greater accessibility, people with dwarfism could comfortably live in a world that suits them, eliminating the constant need for adaptation.
Some changes I would love to see is, being able to walk down the street and not have anybody bat an eye, but obviously you can't control people and how they're feeling. So I feel like having more exposure with, little people in the world, and also sharing those things that like I said earlier, not everybody realizes the challenges we face.
No, I don't feel like an outcast, but obviously this world was not built for little people, so I had to learn how to adapt in this world that is, built for average height.
And I think society is becoming more aware of, individuals with dwarfism. We don't belong on Jackass. We aren't, just supposed to go and be featured in midget wrestling. Do people do it? Yeah, it's a personal decision, but that's not why we are here. We are here because we are people living lives and we have a purpose. We're doctors, we're advocates, we're authors, we're teachers. We are, individuals who have a place in this society and deserve to be respected. It doesn't matter how long your legs are. You can only take one step at a time. The story of a little girl who wanted to make little huge continues.